friends, what's up? It's nice to be back here after a fun-filled Emily Awards. Yes, if you missed it, there are 4 parts of the Emily Awards ready and waiting for you. We do the best of face, eyes, lips, and a finale video. So yeah, it felt good to get that all done and we can move on with the holidays and all that stuff. But in this video, I wanted to cater to something that I was getting a lot of requests for, and just requests and questions about this new e.l.f. Camo CC Cream. The obvious comparison here would be IT Cosmetics. So how does this stack up with that product, an Emily Award-winning product, year after year, really? I do love the IT Cosmetics, and it's really funny that we're here right now talking about something like this, because in a fairly recent e.l.f. video, I remember saying, like, it's been a while since e.l.f. has put out a new complexion product. You know, like they've had that flawless finish or whatever it's called foundation for a long time. There just hasn't been a lot going on there. When it comes to a foundation-y type product, you know, some new concealers obviously, but not a lot where this is concerned, and then boom, they've been working on it, okay? So we're going to talk about this today. Got a new concealer, a new mascara, and also several new lip products as well. Also, in terms of brushes, they have some new like paddle style brushes that I've been experimenting with. A small, a medium, and a large. There's what those look like. I'm probably going to dive into those a little bit more in a future video, because there is a certain brush that they put out that's designed to go with this bad boy right here. I might use one of those for my concealer today, but this is actually the type of brush that IT Cosmetics has also made. It's got the sort of concealer end and then more of a buffing side right there. Overall, I feel like this e.l.f. brush, it's called the Complexion Duo. It doesn't feel like quite as dense and stiff as the other brush. As you look at this on my skin, no product here, you can see it's just got a lot of movement to it. I wouldn't have minded seeing a little more density to that brush and a little more fullness on the concealer side as well. It's not my favorite, but I'm gonna use it with this, the Camo CC Cream, color correcting, full coverage, natural finish, plus collagen peptides and niacinamide. It has SPF 30 as well. So they advise 1 to 2 pumps of this, and then use that duo brush to blend it in. Whereas a moisturizer and full coverage foundation, depending on your needs. Now, for me, I've experimented with this with varying levels of moisturizer underneath. For me, it's at least necessary to have a light moisturizer underneath the IT Cosmetics CC Cream. Under this, a light moisturizer is not quite enough. And what that's telling me is that this is not quite as rich and moisture-packed of a product as the IT Cosmetics. That's what I'm noticing on my skin. Now, a pump of this is a lot of product. Anybody using 2 pumps of this, because they said 1 to 2 pumps, anybody using 2 pumps is getting probably just a mountain of product that they don't need, because 1 pump is quite ample, I think, for anyone. And as you could probably tell, the packaging, like IT Cosmetics, it's like a squeezy tube with a pump attached. Did I say I am the shade Light 210N? And it does really seem to be the proper shade, as you're gonna see here. It's not too yellowy, it's not too light, not too dark. So I'm just gonna dot this around like I like to do, all over the skin, really making sure I first dot those areas where I want the best coverage, so kind of center of the face, tops of the cheeks. And then I'm going to use my larger side of this complexion duo, and I'm going to first start by just kind of dabbing and distributing that product around a little bit better. So kind of dipping in and moving that around, not really blending and buffing just yet, but just getting a little more evenness. Okay, now we're starting to work it in a little bit more. I'm doing kind of like a stippling slash buffing motion. And I want you to see what kind of coverage we're getting. This is where I get really impressed by this product, is the coverage. I mean, it's really, really nice. If we're talking like, is the IT Cosmetics CC Cream full coverage? I think it definitely hits the full coverage end of the spectrum if we're analyzing BB and CC creams, which I did in that video where I made the chart and everything. And IT Cosmetics was way over here on the full coverage side of things. But is it as full coverage as the most full coverage foundation foundations. It's not quite there, okay? And that's kind of the way I feel about this. This has the coverage right up there. It Cosmetics, a really strong coverage, nearly full if we're talking the full spectrum of foundations that are completely going there, and then sheer, it's getting closer to those foundations, but it's not as good as a lot of standard foundations, just because I'm looking up close and I don't feel like I have completely concealer optional skin. Like, I feel exceptionally smooth and evened out overall on my tone, but I can still see little freckles here and there. I can still see some under eye darkness. There's still some stuff hanging around, but I would say that coverage is probably the most impressive part of this product. And even to be using it with a brush that I think is not the best, you know, there's a lot of movement. It needs to be, I think, a little bit thicker with bristles to be the best foundation-y type blender. But even so, you know, we've got coverage here. I think it helps to do kind of a dabbing motion with this and not rely on it as much for a ton of buffing. The other day, I used the medium-sized oval complexion brush to blend this in, and I felt like I had even better coverage out of it, actually. But yeah, with this, in comparison to the IT Cosmetics, I feel like I'm getting very comparable coverage, a really nice just tone of the product, really nice color to match me. Not as much moisture in this, and I can tell that by the amount of moisturizer I'm compelled to wear underneath it, and also as it wears throughout the day. Now, time of year could factor in here a little bit. This could be an even better product for me in the hot months, the sweaty months perhaps. I feel like it's hanging around on my skin all day, but it's not looking like super fresh. I feel actually a little bit dry in this as the day rolls on. So again, I think the moisturizer aspect of this is a little weaker compared to the IT Cosmetics. If you're using IT Cosmetics and you're loving it because it's such an all-in-one product and you're kind of a normal to dry skin type, I can see why that might be working a little bit better for you, and you might get this and think, you know, like I am. I'm not incredibly dry, but I'm normal and really tipping on the dry side a little bit this time of year, and I feel like I could use a little more moisture than what this gives. But anyway, it is providing us a great starting point for the look. I see myself here in my camera and my mirror, and I'm like, wow, you know, that is really nice coverage compared to any other face complexion started out step that e.l.f. is making right now. We're gonna go from that to kind of an okay concealer here. This is called the Flawless Brightening Concealer. It's been out now for, I wanna say, about a month or so on e.l.f.'s website, and I have it in the shade Light 23C. And what we have here is a little brush tip, can you see that? And we're gonna click the product up from the bottom, so a little click pen design. You can see it coming up through the top, and then I'm going to apply a few little dots of this right in here, and I think what you're going to see along with me is that this does give us a little bit of brightness, not incredible coverage. It's not as good as the Hydrating Camo concealer, sorry. That would definitely be my pick from e.l.f. concealer wise. Just to show you a second here, the other end of this brush, to me it's a little too small. I'd like to see a bit more size on this, but you know, it is going to tackle these areas around the sides of the nose and whatnot. In my opinion, this brush just needed a little more fullness on both parts. Now I'm going to pull in my small oval complexion brush, actually, just to show you at least one of these in action. Now I promise I'm going to be working those brushes in on future videos, because they have been really quite good. They're nice and dense and soft, and I feel like I've been seeing more and more, like, you know, sponsored influencer posts about Artiste brushes, and I wonder if this is e.l.f. kind of saying, like, to anybody out looking for that, you can get the same kind of thing for cheaper. I really like this small and medium size primarily. The large takes up a little more surface area than that really nice Real Techniques brush does. See, this one's thick. It's thick this way, but it's not quite as wide as the big e.l.f. one. Sorry, they're kind of funny looking when you see them head on, but see how this is a lot more surface area? This is about all I can take, you know? It's big, it's large and in charge, but yet it sort of feels manageable, you know? I feel, again, brightened up on the under eye, not necessarily like great coverage or anything. If I'm really wanting to have a nice brightening drugstore concealer, I'm thinking about the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Brightener. You know, that's kind of comparable to the Becca, which was a huge award winner in the Emily Awards, the Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector, but maybe doesn't add quite as much moisture to the skin, but kind of on par as far as the tone. That's brightening better than this Flawless Brightening Concealer is. It's okay, but it had a very strong coverage base to go off of. I've worn this with some other things and I've just kind of been like, it's all right. It's neither super drying nor very hydrating, not as hydrating as the e.l.f. Camo Concealer Hydrating, so just kind of a middle ground okay concealer. The last thing I'm going to do to show you here, just complexion wise, I'm going to set things lightly. I feel like, again, this is not offering me a boatload of moisture, so I don't need to go crazy with the powder. In my last order, I got this Perfect Finish HD powder because I saw somebody raving about it. It's just like a white translucent setting powder, and I'm just going over my under eye, my T-zone, because even during these cold December days, I can get a little oily around the nose, and we're just nice and matte and we're ready for whatever could come next. You know what I'll do? I'll just do kind of a sped up showing you the application of the rest of my face products here. I'm using the e.l.f. contour palette, and I'm going to be using this little blush and highlight duo in Watermelon. Continuing on, I'm going to do brows and a quick eye look as well. All right, face, eyes, and brows are done, and we can move on with the other new product that I have, which is the Lash It Loud Volumizing Mascara. It's in a little rose gold tube here, and generally speaking, I don't think mascaras have been a real strong point of e.l.f.'s brand, and I don't think they've tried to make them that way. I just don't think there's been a big emphasis on producing great mascaras. I think they've put their focus in some other areas, and that's fine. But this mascara, you know, it seems like a pretty serious release here. We've got a nice looking brush with short rubbery bristles, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to tell there at the end. There are some very, very little bristles right off the tip, not to the extent of like, what's that one from Benefit? They're Real, you know, that really went there with kind of a separating function at the end. They're not that long. You really have to clean off the mascara to even see that they're there. But my main gripe with this mascara is it takes a long time to dry, and in the time it's taking, it's sweet time that it's taken to dry down on my lashes, I feel like it drops the curl, and that's been kind of the thing I explained like in the Emily Awards. What I like about things like Lash Paradise or IT Cosmetics Superhero is that they don't take a lot of work to get the look I want, and then they kind of freeze on the lashes. And the faster that something can freeze, the less it's just spending time in that wet state and undoing the curl. That's kind of what I see from this. I don't hate the look. I don't think it's the worst look ever, but it's really losing the ability to build well on itself because it's sitting around just so wet on the lashes for so long. So I'll show you here. I'll show it going on. I got a nice curl from my Shiseido lash curler, and it doesn't give me like huge lashes, but it gives me kind of a defined lash. See how it's just more defining, a little bit lengthening, but not like super duper thickening. And then, like I said, you're gonna have to let that sit for quite a while before anything wants to build on itself. If you wanted to keep this rolling, you know, and add more coats, wet mascaras don't build on themselves just right away. You've got to let things get at least nearly dry before you start coating them up again. So it's just kind of a slow process. As you can tell, I'm not a fan of this. Okay, got the nice curl. Clean off that tip a little bit. Otherwise, the brush comes out very, very cleaned off out of the gate. And I don't know if you can tell here, but we're looking at definition. We're looking at a little added length, not a lot of thickness. See, it's not even really wanting to build yet. And that's the amount of time it took for me to curl and coat up that eye one time. So what am I gonna do while I wait? Put on more blush? Sure, why not? Let's mix the blush and the highlight. Ooh. I love this shade, by the way, called Watermelon. That highlighter in there is so stunning. These were definitely up there in considerations for best blushes in the Emily Awards. The bite-size eye palettes, I think, would have done better if more of the palettes had a better balance. I really feel like some are lacking like a good medium shade, some are lacking a good light shade. In 4 colors, I know it's hard to give you everything, but there are a lot of cases where it was like, okay, 2 really dark shades or 2 darker shimmers. Even in this berry palette, you know, we needed one thing that was lighter. Anyway, that's not what the video is about. But that's had a chance to dry a little bit. Now you can get a little more thickness, okay? The lashes aren't ginormous still, but it needed that first coat nearly dry before you're really seeing it. I don't want to go through and through and through because then I think I'm just going to start sticking things together. But that's the overall look with that. You know, I've tried worse from e.l.f. for sure, but it's just not the best suited to my lashes. Some people might not mind, you know, the wetness, the drying time. For me, I just don't think it does really straight lashes that really want to resist that curl. I don't think it does them any favors. All right, guys, I popped on some lashes. Sometimes you just haven't worn lashes in a while and it just feels right. Maybe it's a slick back hair today. I wanted something more. I grabbed these out of a little drawer. I remember loving them. I can't remember for the life of me what this style was, but it is just va-va-voom right now. The last thing I want to review for you today is the Hydrating Core Lip Shines. These are so adorable. You've got just a standard little cap deal here. This packaging, I need to pull that off. But right here we have a twist up stick. The outer color of the stick is the overall color that you're gonna be wearing. And on the inside, there is a little like gel heart that sort of stands up a little bit taller than the actual stick itself. Like you can feel it outside the product. And it looks like kind of a dark colored, but it's transparent. It reminds me of the type of thing I've seen like YSL do at times. I got 3 different shades and they all have this, what could best be described as like a dark berry colored transparent heart there. So the color is from the outer shade. When you're picking one of these out, look at what the overall color is. And it's gonna be like a shiny lip butter kind of feel. They feel actually really nice, very hydrating, very kind to dry lips. I definitely like the feel, the texture. I like how the texture, you know, it gives me some shine, but some richness too. It's kind of right up there, you guys, with the feel I get from the L'Oreal Coloris Shines. I'm not super in love with every shade that I got, and I'll explain that in a second, but the one I'm putting on right now is called Happy, and that is the My Lips But Better shade. But can you see how I'm getting full color? Okay, they're not sheer, non-existent color balms, okay, but it's that outer thing. The inner heart is not playing a role really in the color, but I gotta talk about the scent. At first I thought, oh, it's watermelon. No, it's like cucumber melon, you know, like the cucumber melon Bath and Body Works scent that everybody had like back when we were in high school or junior high or whatever. Lightly sweet, but very identifiable. You're gonna notice it. I don't think you're gonna notice it really once you got them on, but in the application, you're gonna sense that. But see the level of shine? And I like how they're shiny, but they're not greasy. It's really a fine line with products like this for me. I want them to hang on the lips and not feel like, you know, just a sloppy, greasy balm. This does feel hydrating. It's very cute. Again, I really like that shade Happy. That's my favorite one, but I'll show you the other 2 that I got. I got the one called Joyful, and this kind of amounts to a baby pink look on my lips. If it were like a chalky matte, heavy looking baby pink, I probably wouldn't like it. In this format, I think it's okay. I actually think that's kind of a pretty light shade. Not my favorite, don't love it as well as the first one I put on, but you know, it's all right. It is what it is. And then there's an interesting mauve-y shade, actually pretty unique as far as this type of product in my collection. It's the one called Delightful, and it is this soft mauve. It's very cool. It might be the exact kind of shade some people out there are looking for, but again, you've got that core. It's giving you like shine and I guess some added moisture, although the whole stick seems pretty moisturizing, but the color is coming from, you know, that outside color. Staying power, obviously, like these are not a long wearing product at all. I feel like I can get through a chunk of the morning and have some nice moisture there, and even a good feeling to my lips once I've had some wear down. But if you want long wear, you got to go more for a liquid lipstick. As I mentioned in the Emily Awards, e.l.f. has something called Sheer Matte Liquid Lipstick that is not to be slept on. That is a great product. But these little new guys, I like them. I definitely do, and I think that shade called Happy is just so everyday and beautiful. But yeah, guys, that's my review on the new e.l.f. stuff. Again, the CC Cream, I think it's impressive from a coverage standpoint. I don't think it's doing the multitasking in terms of moisturizer quite as well as It Cosmetics. Also, it doesn't have quite as high of an SPF either, but I was really impressed to see the coverage be so good. When they put out something like this, mark my words, I bet in the springtime we get a dewy version, we get an illuminating version, something that maybe has a little more juice in it, you know what I mean? And then maybe there's a matte version, but I don't know about going matte. This one seems pretty matte as is. Good product. I mean, for the price, I'm impressed. Wasn't huge on this concealer. If you want a great brightening concealer from the drugstore, go for the Instant Age Rewind Brightener. Lash It Loud, I could skip that as well. I mean, my straight lashes, I just need something that builds up faster. I don't like waiting on it to dry before I can coat them up and actually see a little build. But I do love these. I like these little, what are they called? Hydrating Core Lip Shines. Nice product. They're not going to be something you want to throw on underneath your mask, really, because it's just screaming to transfer off onto a mask. But in other circumstances, just around the house, you know, your casual Christmas morning, pop that on. Yes. Thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you for requesting this video, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.